Hello, I am so excited to talk to you today about the gut-thyroid connection. So, two of the biggest things that we help women with, gut and thyroid, and it's no coincidence because they go together. So, if you've been diagnosed with hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's, you're taking your thyroid medications, you're doing everything right, why are you still exhausted, bloated, gaining weight, brain fog, right? No matter how clean you eat or how early you go to bed. I see this every single day in my practice. Your labs might be normal. Your provider says your thyroid is fine, your numbers look good, TSH and T4 maybe, but you don't feel fine because no one's looked at the one system that controls almost everything about how your thyroid functions, which is your gut. So if we haven't met, my name is Melissa Bunkers. I'm a nurse practitioner and I'm certified in functional medicine. I've helped hundreds of women with the very thing that we're going to talk about today, gut and thyroid conditions. I can tell you the biggest reason that conventional thyroid treatments fail isn't because of the thyroid itself. It's because of everything that's happening below the surface, oftentimes in your gut. So, if you are like many, many women, most of the women who come to me, you've probably gone gluten-free, maybe even dairy-free, soy-free. You've added supplements, you've cleaned up your diet, you started going to the gym again. Maybe you've asked for more labs and you're saying like, I don't feel good. So maybe they've switched your medications, maybe they're upping your dose of levothyroxine or Synthroid, and still you don't feel well. I know this is so frustrating because it feels like you're doing everything right and they're not really hearing you and no one's really willing to dig any deeper. So I want to first say that you're not crazy. You're not broken. You're just missing the other half of the equation, which is what we're going to talk about today. So grab a notebook and I can't wait to teach you all about this. So why does the gut matter when it comes to the thyroid? Well, the thyroid doesn't function in isolation. Nothing in the body does. Our sex hormones, our thyroid, our gut, our adrenals, nervous system, the brain, everything is connected, right? And so, but the thyroid in particular is influenced by three big factors. Number one, your immune system. Number two, nutrient absorption. And number three, hormone conversion. And so all three of those processes depend on a healthy gut. And so we'll talk about those three things today. So if your gut is inflamed, if it's infected, if it's imbalanced, your thyroid is probably not working the way it should. No matter how perfectly your diet is, no matter how many foods you eliminate, what supplements you take, what your dose of levothyroxine is, okay? So, first, the immune connection. This is huge. This is research backed, even. So, 70% of your immune system, most of your immune system lives in your gut, along the gut lining. And so that means when your gut barrier at the very tiny cellular level becomes inflamed or leaky, your immune system gets confused and then it can start attacking your thyroid. So here's what I mean. This is exactly what happens with Hashimoto's. There is research linking this leaky gut phenomenon to Hashimoto's. So when those junctions in your intestinal lining, like I said, the very tiny cellular level, they are broken down, they're inflamed. Those junctions, it's kind of like cheesecloth. Now the holes are bigger, and undigested food proteins, toxins, things like that can pass through to the immune system that lives right along that gut lining. That immune system goes, whoa, like this isn't supposed to be here. What the heck? And so it does what it's supposed to do, and it sounds the alarm. And this is how your body can start to produce thyroid antibodies, TPO and TG antibodies in particular, the ones that can start to attack your thyroid. So if you have the presence of TPO and or TG antibodies, then you have Hashimoto's, and that can start attacking your thyroid function and create hypothyroidism. So, there is something called molecular mimicry where your immune system mistakes the thyroid tissue for a threat after the immune system is triggered by things like chronic infections, things slipping through that gut barrier to the immune system, inflammation, things like that. All of those things trigger that immune system. If you've been diagnosed with Hashimoto's and your antibodies are are elevated and nothing has been done about that, you have to look at your gut because there's a huge link between leaky gut and the presence of those Hashimoto's antibodies. And what's the number one cause of hypothyroidism in women? It's Hashimoto's. That's a whole other conversation that I am going to have in another video. But if you have hypothyroidism and you've never been checked for Hashimoto's, you absolutely need to get those TPO and TG antibodies because 90% of hypothyroidism is caused by Hashimoto's. And then if you do have those antibodies present, you need to be looking at the gut for sure. Number two is nutrient absorption. So our body runs on nutrients, right? That is not rocket science. Your thyroid needs things, especially like selenium, zinc, iron, iodine, B vitamins, amino acids from protein. Of course, all of these things are absorbed in your gut. And so when your digestion is impaired, not working as it should, you have infections like H. pylori, SIBO, candida, parasites, those nutrients don't get absorbed properly, and then your thyroid doesn't have the fuel it needs to function properly. So you can eat, again, you can eat gluten-free, you can eat the healthiest clean diet, take every thyroid supplement, but if your gut is not able to digest and absorb those nutrients, then you can still be deficient. So, especially for iron, I would say I see a lot of women deficient in iron. So we check this by looking at ferritin, your ferritin level. Anything less than 30 for a ferritin is considered iron deficiency. And we don't the solve for this problem isn't to just take an iron supplement. We want to ask why. So, are you getting enough iron in your diet? But also, do you have a gut infection, something like H. pylori that will compete with the absorption of iron? Do you have enough digestive enzymes and is strong enough stomach acid to be able to digest your foods and then bring on those nutrients, right? So we always want to be asking why. Why do I have these nutrient deficiencies, right? And oftentimes it's because there's something going on in the gut where it's just not breaking down food, it's not able to absorb those nutrients. If that gut lining is inflamed, it can prevent absorption of those nutrients as well. So, nutrient absorption is crucial. The next one I want to talk about is the conversion connection here. So your thyroid itself makes mostly T4, which is the inactive thyroid hormone, and that has to get converted into active thyroid hormone, which is T3. One that actually gets into your cells to create your metabolism, all bodily processes from head to toe. Your cells need that T3 inside of it, okay? So guess where that conversion from inactive to active thyroid hormone happens? Yes, some of it happens in your gut, and a lot of it happens in your liver, which is part of the GI system. And all of that depends on a healthy microbiome, healthy gut bacteria and balance. So when those gut bacteria are imbalanced, maybe you have an infection, an overgrowth of something, maybe you don't have enough good bacteria, that conversion of the inactive to active thyroid hormone slows down or is impaired. So again, even if you're on medication, you can still feel hypothyroid symptoms. Levothyroxine or Synthroid is like the go-to thyroid medication, right? You're probably familiar with that if you have hypothyroidism. That's a T4 only medication. So you're taking the inactive form of thyroid hormone. Your body's job is then to convert it into T3. So if we've got a gut problem happening, many times, I see this so often, that medication is not working for many women because that conversion, we have a lot of many women have problems making that conversion for a variety of reasons, but inflammation can be one of them. That often stems from the gut infections, things like that, leaky gut, need for nutrients too, which, we just talked about. That comes back to gut, absorbing your nutrients. So make sure to check out my video all about the thyroid and thyroid medications and why yours might not be working for you. But that's a huge one because you're not able to make that T4 to T3 conversion. So we've got to be looking at the gut. And in a lot of cases, I'm also switching up thyroid medications, but see my other video for that discussion. So how do we figure out what's going on in the gut, right? Well, my favorite test to run is the GI map stool test. For any woman who's, yes, complaining of gut symptoms, IBS, constipation, bloating, diarrhea, reflux, a lot of food sensitivities, cramping, all of those things. I'm like, yeah, we definitely need a stool test. But I'll tell you, you don't have to have those gut symptoms to actually have a gut problem that is affecting your thyroid. So for instance, way back in the day when I did my own GI map, I didn't have any of those gut symptoms per se, maybe some bloating and like weird nausea here and there, but nothing that would make me go, oh my gosh, I need a stool test. But I did have high Hashimoto's antibodies. I had suboptimal thyroid function. I was exhausted, like body aches, just felt terrible, always in bed, always needed a nap, never felt rested. I got a GMF stool test. I had six gut infections, like glaring gut infections on the stool test. And since that time, I have seen hundreds of stool tests and hundreds of women with the same thing happening. So on that stool test, it's a 5 to 6 page report of your entire microbiome. So oftentimes we'll see low beneficial bacteria, especially the ones that regulate inflammation, help to break down your food. So research actually shows that women with Hashimoto's tend to have lower diversity of healthy gut microbes, things like lactobacillus and bifidobacterium, and higher levels of the pro-inflammatory species. So, and these imbalances are linked to higher thyroid antibody levels and therefore increased autoimmune activity. The next thing that I see quite often is high inflammation markers. So high calprotectin is the marker on the GI map. And also there's a way to look at the immune response along that gut lining. It's called secretory IgA, and that is part of the GI map as well. If that marker is low, that's like your immune system is overwhelmed. It's like waving a white flag. Hey, I'm tired here. I need some support. On the other end, if it's really sky high, it's like, wow, I'm pissed off and I'm raging, right? So either way, we've got to kind of bring that back to the middle, either support it to do its job or kind of calm it down and say, hey, it's all good here, right? We can stop overreacting. So studies do show that chronic intestinal inflammation can worsen autoimmune thyroid activity by keeping your immune system on high alert. So that calprotectin inflammatory marker kind of goes hand in hand with the secretory IgA. The one thing I will say here too about the GI map is it's not enough to just have the results in front of you and go, okay, this one's high, this one's low, and we'll give you a supplement for that and a supplement for that. We've got to know how it all connects, right? So like the calprotectin, the inflammation, like it's not just, oh, take a supplement for to lower your inflammation. What is causing that inflammation? How do the other markers on the GI map, how is that all connected, right? That's a huge piece of things. The next one I see often, of course, is pathogens or overgrowth. So things like H. pylori, so common. Candida, parasites, staph, strep, Klebsiella, Pseudomonas, Morganella. It's like a whole entire page of what we call opportunistic bacteria, meaning if they have the opportunity, they're going to start to overgrow and they're going to cause a lot of problems. It checks for parasites and worms. And so several studies have found higher rates of H. pylori infection in people with Hashimoto's and hypothyroidism compared to healthy controls. So this is a very common infection that we have to take seriously. Researchers also believe that H. pylori may trigger thyroid autoimmunity through that molecular mimicry, where the bacterial antigens actually resemble the thyroid tissue, and that kind of confuses the immune system. And it's thinking it's going after the bacteria. However, it's like, hey, no, that's actually my thyroid, and they just look a lot alike, right? Candida overgrowth has been linked to increased intestinal permeability, aka leaky gut, which makes it easier for immune triggers to reach the bloodstream, stimulate those thyroid antibodies. I will tell you, there are a lot of opportunistic bacteria that can lead to autoimmunity and inflammation. It's not just H. pylori, it's not just Candida or parasites. Like I said, there's a whole page on that GI map, and I have seen many different ones in women with Hashimoto's, but that is what the research is showing. Signs of poor digestion or detoxification. So there's something called elastase, pancreatic elastase, comes from the pancreas, and it's triggered by strong stomach acid. So you can think of the GI system as a funnel, right? So, we need a good pH balance, and that kind of starts with good stomach acid. And then if that's appropriate, then it's going to signal to the pancreas, hey, kick out some digestive enzymes, which is elastase that the GI map is checking for. If we've got low elastase, that means that we are not likely not breaking down our food appropriately, not able to digest or absorb those nutrients. That also leaves food sitting around for those bad bacteria if we're not moving things through. It also checks for what's called steatocrit. This is a measure of how much fat is in your stool. So we don't want any fat passing through in the stool. We want our fat digested and absorbed. And so if we see fat in the stool, we're automatically thinking bile flow, liver support, all your detoxification systems, right? And then, remember we said the liver strongly connected to that thyroid hormone conversion. So this is where all those puzzle pieces start to fit together, okay? Studies do confirm that micronutrient deficiencies are more common in women with Hashimoto's. So we've got to be able to break down our food and absorb those nutrients. So when we zoom out, it's not random, right? Why you have Hashimoto's or why your thyroid isn't functioning properly. It's not like your body just woke up one day and your thyroid decided to be broken. If you're asking more questions like, gosh, could there be something actually like going on underneath? Like, is there more to it than just this medication or just a gluten-free diet? 1000%. Like follow that intuition because this is what I do on a daily basis. And I see when you address all of those underlying conditions, you can absolutely lower your thyroid medication. In some cases, you can come off of it completely. That's on a very case-by-case basis. I can't say that for everybody, but it is possible. And it certainly is possible to lower those thyroid antibodies. I'm going to share a case study here really quick in a minute, but gut health absolutely matters for Hashimoto's and hypothyroidism. Of course, traditional care, conventional care, looking at TSH, they're looking at T4, they're giving you some thyroid medication. Even if you have Hashimoto's, they're not really doing much about that, right? They are just saying, okay, well, your numbers look good. Meanwhile, you could be sitting there saying, but I don't feel good at all. Like, what else can we do? And this is where I find that women aren't getting a lot of support. We are not fixing the environment that your thyroid is trying to thrive in. It's like watering a plant in toxic soil, right? You can't expect it to thrive if the roots are still sick and suffocating. So when we trace thyroid dysfunction back to the root causes, almost every path leads through the gut. I always say, show me your health issues, whether it's sex hormones, thyroid, weight, fatigue, brain fog, anxiety, skin rashes, infertility, endometriosis. Like I most of the time I can trace it back to the gut. And that's why we have a saying that all disease begins in the gut. So infections and overgrowths, H. pylori, candida, they drive that molecular mimicry, all of that inflammation in the gut lining, that leaky gut. And immune overactivation, those things are absolutely huge. My number one thing, test, don't guess. Like if you are just so done with like trying the elimination diets and trying this random supplement and getting nowhere with your doctor, my number one recommendation is to get the GI map stool test and a complete thyroid panel. A full thyroid panel is TSH, free T4, free T3, reverse T3, TPO, and TG antibodies. I'll be doing a separate video about that, but I just wanted to throw that out there because that's crucial in knowing how your thyroid's actually functioning. Go watch that video if you want more information on that. And then we've got to heal the gut, right? So I will honestly say I've never had a woman come to me where she's like, I've got all this fatigue, I feel inflamed, like I have food sensitivities, I've got weird rashes, brain fog. Oh, and by the way, I have high Hashimoto's antibodies and I'm on levothyroxine for hypothyroidism. I'm like, boom, we need a GI map. We get that. And there are inevitably multiple imbalances on there. I've never had a GI map come back where it's like, oh, shoot, nothing to see here, like everything's normal, because there is that plain biological connection between the gut and the thyroid. So, how do we heal the gut? We need an evidence-based gut healing protocol. Taking oregano oil for some infection that you see on a GI map does not heal the entire gut terrain. It doesn't address the immune system. It doesn't address inflammation and leaky gut. It doesn't address the good bacteria. So again, you need a practitioner who can put all those puzzle pieces together of those results and know, oh, this is because of this. It's not just high and low numbers. It's oh, this is actually affecting that. And things like H. pylori can actually do a lot of damage to the gut lining. So it's not just about treating and killing the H. pylori, it's about undoing the damage that it's doing to the rest of the terrain. All of that has to be addressed. That's so I use what's called prep, treat, and heal. It's a three-phase gut healing approach, and it takes a minimum of 4 months to really get through all of those phases. Fuel your metabolism, that's another one. So eat enough. Like I said, our body doesn't We can't just pull nutrients out of thin air. So we've got to prioritize protein, fiber certainly is very important, even carbohydrates. The thyroid does not love a low carbohydrate diet. So keto, things like that, that's actually going to put the brakes on your active thyroid hormone production. So under eating is very detrimental to thyroid hormone optimization. Now I want to talk just real quick this case study. So one of hundreds that I could give you, but one client came to me with hypothyroidism. She was on 300 micrograms of levothyroxine for many years. Her primary doctor just kept upping and upping her dose, but she didn't feel any better. He told her that it was just because she's a mom. You're so tired because you're a mom. Your mood is so low because you're depressed, and I want to, we should put you on an antidepressant. She's like, well, my mood is low and I feel sluggish and off, but I'm not depressed. So she wanted to figure out what the underlying cause was. So guess what? We found Hashimoto's. Her Hashimoto's antibodies were high in the 800s, and her stool test showed H. pylori. It showed low good bacteria, of course, signs of leaky gut and inflammation, as it always does with Hashimoto's. So we treated her gut with that PTH gut healing framework. We optimized her nutrients, helped her fit that a nutrient strategy into her busy lifestyle. And I'll tell you, she didn't go gluten free. And we helped her with stress management. So we optimized it all. And within 3 months, her antibodies dropped by 700 points down to 100. She was able to decrease her thyroid medication by 100 micrograms. Her digestion was regular. She was waking up at 5:45 in the morning with energy. She says, I was laughing and smiling at work again. I had energy for my little kids and my husband. And that, my friends, is what happens when you stop chasing symptoms and fix the foundation. So that's a very exciting story I love to share with people. And there are plenty more. Check out my Instagram. I have 3 highlight bubbles on my Instagram profile that are titled wins, like wins one, wins two, wins three. So check those out. So, the takeaway here is that your thyroid isn't the root problem. Many times, the thyroid dysfunction is a symptom or something deeper going on. And until you get to that root cause, whether it's nutrient deficiencies, gut inflammation, immune overactivation, you're always going to be struggling, and just tweaking your thyroid medication is not going to help. I will also say that just going gluten-free does not heal the gut, right? So if you've got an infection, if you've got immune overactivation, if you've got inflammation causing leaky gut in there, just going gluten-free, yeah, you've removed the trigger, so you might feel a little bit better, and that inflammation, you might feel it go down, but it's not actually healing up the underlying root causes. I hope I've made that clear and taught you that today. So if this hits home, this is exactly what we do in my signature program. It's a 4-month one-on-one program. We used advanced gut and thyroid testing to find your real root causes and create an evidence-based personalized plan so you can stop guessing and stop restricting foods and, make your health work for you and not the other way around. So you can just stop micromanaging your symptoms every single day and get freedom from those symptoms. So I hope you learned a lot in this episode. I'm going to put the link to schedule a free consult with me if you're interested in that. If not, like I said, I hope you learned a lot, and I'll see you in the next video.